Hello, everyone. I'm Dani, and welcome to our podcast. Today, Great.com talks with Becky Dinning, the Executive Director of Social Venture Partners San Antonio. If you don't know them yet, they cultivate local philanthropists, strengthen nonprofits, and invest in collaborative solutions to build powerful relationships in their community. And just a quick reminder before we begin, if you're new here, subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Hello, Becky, and welcome to Great Talks.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure, honestly. Let's begin understanding a bit about the context that you're acting on, right? Because you help small and mid-sized nonprofits. What are the biggest struggles they face in the San Antonio region? What are the biggest issues you're facing in there?
I think that, and your listeners, many of them will know this, that nonprofit and mission-based work, as a lot of us like to really think about this, nonprofit work is challenging right now with the rising costs of everything, supplies, electricity, food. That means that those who are doing community work, those that are reaching out to find ways to fill gaps for hunger, for housing, for shelter, for safety, are struggling because now it is harder to make those ends meet. We are also dealing with a staffing crisis across the nation as wages have risen. They have not, and they never do, rise as fast in the nonprofit industry as they do everywhere else. And so we are also in the middle of a capacity crisis for staff, for resources. There's always a crisis for time in nonprofits, and all of that is within our ability to be able to have enough bandwidth to fulfill our mission, to meet the needs of the people that we've made, that we want to help. We've seen gaps get bigger in key areas like food and housing. This is not just San Antonio, but it is acutely different this year than it was 3 years ago before we entered the pandemic. And I think that we're all thinking, how can we be more efficient? How can we help each other better? Social venture partners, most nonprofits, we operate in a space that we are a funder as well as a nonprofit. So we feel the stress on both sides. As an organization that gives to nonprofits, we are listening to their leaders. We are listening to our community about where's the most efficient way to help people grow. We have the language of helping nonprofits with capacity. We want to help strengthen staff. We want to help them learn tasks or learn skills that help them do more. We also want to be able to provide modest grants for things that help them with their capacity, like software. These are not things that's not a real sexy gift for a funder. But the reality is, I come from working in 30 years. I've worked in nonprofits, and I know because I grew up with the invitation. I was there when the internet was invented, when email was invented. I started email newsletters for a nonprofit back in the 80s because it was free. So I kind of grew up with some of the new technologies and have had to learn and adjust everything that I do too. But I know how much time it saves you. In a nonprofit, it's about management of your resources. It's about good stewardship of your donor dollars as well as your own personal time. Most people in this space burn out. Mm-hmm. It is hard work. It is emotional work. It is heart work. And I understand that. And our donor circle, our giving circle understands that. We want to be better philanthropists too. We want to be, now that we have gotten to a place where we're blessed enough to be able to give back and pay it forward a little more, social venture partners, we give time as well as funding. And we know that works. That's a way that you leverage your dollars to be able to get a little bit more done. And so that whole language around building capacity has a lot to do with, I don't just write a check. We also want to be able to provide some time. We want to be able to provide you with training. We don't take over nonprofits. We don't become their board. We aren't their boss. They are the subject matter experts in their space. I'm not a food and insecurity expert. I'm not. I am not a children in crisis or trafficking expert, but I can help you with some resources operationally, with marketing, with public relations, community, that can help you get a little further, because those are probably barriers to a lot of those people. So we feel like with professional skills, we can match that with some funding to be able to get nonprofits, especially small, innovative nonprofits, a little further down the road and help them become sustainable. So that's our giving model. It's time and treasure. And that has become something that's been very important for philanthropy and philanthropists. It's a growing trend. Giving circles are a growing trend to where we pool our money together. There's great value in the United Ways and the community foundations of the world, but there are also many, many philanthropists who want to do something. We want to be engaged, and SVP is a wonderful tool to do that. We have chapters all over the world. We have 40 chapters in the United States, but we also have in Canada, in India has a wonderful, strong program. There's Australia, there's one in Sydney. So kind of proud of our network and how we learn also in different time zones and across the world, what else is also going on in their countries. And it's surprisingly similar. You know, when you're a community organization, NGO, we have found that those of us who are kind of wired to help those around us, to care for our neighbors as we care for ourselves, that is a universal law. The golden rule applies everywhere. And there are lots of people, really amazing people involved in that. So I love what I do. It's a great organization. We are small, but we are very nimble. Some of the social venture partners in other cities are a little further ahead. We're only 3 years old. So we're in our toddler stage, learning our ecosystem here in San Antonio and learning how to better serve our community. So that in a long story, short story long for you.
I loved it. And well, it's definitely things that are to be proud of. Absolutely. Especially with only 3 years of operations. This is really impressive. And I'm actually quite glad about some of the points that you brought to us here, because I feel that most people, they forget that nonprofits are organizations as well. It's not just, oh, okay, there's just a bunch of people that decided to do something good and they're just helping each other out and that's it. No, it requires a quite substantial amount of structure and money and work. I mean, it can be really heavy. So thank you for bringing that to us right in the front, because I think that really marks the way, right? And telling people, okay, remember that this is important.
Yeah, nonprofit organizations are their businesses. The only difference that is significant difference is that our profits go back into the mission. And there has been for many, many years, many decades, this challenge of you're a nonprofit, so you have to do business differently. That's not actually accurate. There are still HR challenges. We have to have policies and procedures. Your financials have to be right. You have to be transparent. No money, no mission is a phrase we use a lot. And if you break even every year, you will not grow. Mm-hmm. So you must learn how to grow. You must learn how to find earned revenue. You must put your politics and put your egos behind. Mergers and acquisitions are not bad things. Sometimes that means you can do more. Sometimes you have to outsource things. One person in one-person nonprofit cannot do it all. I don't care how smart you are. It's not possible. And grow. It just doesn't work that way. So we talk a lot about the business sense behind nonprofits and building those organizations. That's why I like to use mission-based organization. Nonprofit immediately puts people into, we must starve our staff. And the worst thing that a board member, for those who are board members or board chairs or people who are out there who are philanthropists, please continue to talk to your peers about the importance of paying staff and recruiting talent at the price that they need. They're not going to cost as much as someone in finance or who is out to do it for the money. We don't do it for the money, but we still have bills, and it still is very costly. And so we talk a lot about that business mindset. No money, no mission. Just like no profit, you get shut down. And so we talk a lot with our nonprofits. We use our funders to help them, think through innovative ways and to gain ground on their business. That means sometimes training. Sometimes that may mean that we provide, as I said, software, CRM software. There are wonderful tools out there that are very affordable for nonprofits that I'm glad to be able to go through the process on how you might select that, the process of how you put data in. We have the smaller nonprofits, large nonprofits have great support in this area. You've got Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and you've got the larger, the YMCAs of the world and the Red Crosses of the world are underfunded in other ways, but they do have good data systems and are beginning to, they've matured enough that they get that. But a lot of the smaller nonprofits, which is 85% of those nonprofits out there, don't know what resources are available to them at a reasonable cost. So we connect them. Connecting, networking, collaborating with them is really the way that you get this kind of work done more efficiently. It's a better way to be good stewards. We talk a lot about that. One of our programs we just finished this year, we have a leadership cohort. And so we take 15 to 20 new nonprofit executives. They may be new in their organization. They may be founders of a nonprofit. We found that the smaller nonprofits or even a COO, chief operating officer, or somebody who reports to the CEO in a smaller organization benefits from being able to round out their knowledge and their skill set. So we built a curriculum, and it's 6 days over 6 months. And we take them through sort of a complete review of what you need to know, the basics of what you need to know to be a stronger CEO and executive in a nonprofit. And that's everything from understanding the roles of your board, what's your job as a CEO compared to what's the board's job. A lot of people don't know that. They don't understand. They think that CEOs, often founders especially, think that they own the nonprofit. Legally, that's not true. And they're not responsible if it fails. Technically, the board is. So there are those small, subtle things that we talk to them about. What's the role of the board? How do you set up your policies and procedures? How do you have an effective board meeting? Those are critical in a nonprofit organization to be able to have good, strong boards. How do you include diversity in your board so that the board is not completely out of touch with who your clients are and the people or the organizations that you're serving? We talk about finance. We talk about how to put together good books, how to read a 990. You'd be shocked how many people really struggle with how to read a 990, which is in the United States. For those who are out, that's our tax form. And that's and it's 25 pages. So it's heavy. It's a lot of information that donors, that funders, big grant makers require you to give that to them. It's something that's posted on websites so that funders can look at it, and it's kind of see under the sheets of what's going on there. So a lot of people don't know how to read a 990. It's complicated. We teach them how to do that and how to use the 990 to tell your story of your mission. There's always a message in the materials that we're putting together. Even our financials tell a story about the organization. We talk about that. We talk about brand. We talk about marketing and social media and PR and events, those kinds of things too, that we all get wrapped up in. I'm always surprised about how much time executive directors spend on their events, and I try to say, stop doing that. But, we all have our challenges in our industry, and it's fun for me to be able to take all of the mistakes that I've made over 30 years and say, I wish I'd known this. And now I can tell you to not make my mistakes and put that into a leadership training program, help them with how they can strengthen their strategy and be efficient and utilize their network and use people like us in their community to be able to accomplish more.
Yeah, and those things, they make the whole difference because you're teaching vital points. It's not just, oh, let's be better. No, it's let's be. It's, it's the first step. And I'm wondering here now, how do you get to those non-profits? Do you choose them? Do they reach out to you?
Yeah, in our fellowship, they apply. There's an application process, and we'll start that process again in June. And so they apply to be in the program. There is a fee. We want them to have some skin in the game. It's not outrageous. It's something that we feel like most can afford. And to help us so that we're diverse, we want to be sure that the leaders in the cohort represent different geographies, that they represent different focus areas, because the biggest value is not me sitting. The biggest value are the relationships they build with each other. When they begin seeing the possibility of learning from each other, not just what the other skills are, but how to collaborate. If you've got two youth development programs, and one is STEM and one is art, and another is a child in crisis or trafficking, those groups collaborate well together. And so it opens doors, and that kind of cohort establishes relationships that are absolutely essential in the success and sustainability of a nonprofit. And so it's fun for me to just watch their relationships blossom and grow, and how they connect immediately with each other of let's do this together, let's do that together. On the funding side, that is essential. Across all philanthropy right now, you're hearing much more about why don't we collaborate more? You have to report on what your collaborations are, and who do you work with, and who else is your partner in this space. Philanthropists want to know that you understand your community's nonprofit ecosystem, if you will. Where are you in your market, if in business terms? What does your market look like for this kind of service and program? That you understand it, that you're unique, that you're doing something that is one that's actually needed, and that you're collaborating with other people to be able to fill and make an impact on some key metrics. That's really the language of the philanthropy side. And nonprofits, like all of us in business and in nonprofit, we get stuck in a silo, and I churn, and I run my little Ferris wheel all day, every day. And this does help them kind of step back a little bit, get a better view of what's going on in the community. It's wonderful to watch. It's wonderful to be able to be in the room with these extraordinary people who are doing these things. They are very, very bright people. They are inspiring people. The next generation, I'm a Gen Xer, and so watching millennials be so good at this and so passionate about making the world a better place for their children and their grandchildren is also just really exciting to watch. And I love being around them. I love hearing their ideas. They're so smart and care so much about their communities. It's a wonderful program. We provide other tools. We provide capacity building tools. We collaborate with other funders. We don't do anything that we try to practice what we preach. We collaborate with other funders, and have put together a giving fund for providing an online consulting tool. I don't know if you've talked to them yet, but Catchy Fires is a tool here in the United States where nonprofits are matched with professional volunteers, so skilled-based volunteers, similar to what we do locally with SVP. Catchy Fires is a Match.com type of portal for nonprofits, but it connects you with professional volunteers. So if you don't have, nobody has Very few have a full-time HR consultant. Very few have full-time graphic designers. Please, what we would give for that, that'd be awesome. But you can go out and find somebody who will do a project for you at no cost with this tool. And the nonprofit is in control of selecting the designer, interviewing the designer, putting the scope together of what they need. So it's a great control system. We like the tool. Our partners and our donors really love the tool. We have 125 nonprofits that are active on that locally right now. That's also a tool that's available across the country. And the volunteers come from all over the world. In fact, speaking of Brazil, I am working with a man from Brazil who's doing some CSS on our website through Catchy Fires.
Wow.
So it's just this really cool thing. Also, from a giving perspective, if you've got skills and you're not the type to necessarily go to one of those chicken dinners or, write huge checks for a sponsorship or even run and fun runs, if you're somebody that really is good at marketing or can translate, you can give that time away in easy to manage projects through these kinds of tools, through skill-based volunteer tools. I love it from the volunteer side and from the nonprofit side. So that's been kind of fun to get to know how nonprofits could use that. It was essential during COVID because we were all stuck at home. Many people lost their positions and lost their jobs, and nonprofits found themselves without any staff to do anything. So it was a great tool. It came along right at the right time for us too. So
well,
we've been fortunate.
Yeah. I love to hear about that. I actually wrote that down because I don't think we did any interviews with them, but it's definitely getting in our list, and I'm definitely browsing there.
Yeah, Catchy Fires is a fun tool. It's a great organization based out of New York City. There are others that are out there that provide that kind of tool for nonprofits. We just like this one because it's easy to use for volunteers. It's also very easy to use for nonprofits.
That's great. And unfortunately, now I need to ask you my final question, but I think it's the most important one, that is how people can get involved and help you out.
Well, Social Venture Partners San Antonio, we are based in San Antonio. We're always looking for more donors, more partners. Our donors consider it's a membership organization, a giving circle, and once a year, we ask them to give a significant gift. The average gift is around $2,000 a year annually. The minimum to be a partner level donor is $1,000 a year. But we have some that give 1,000, we have some that give 25. And it depends on what their capabilities are and what they want to invest in. We do consider those dollars to be investments in the community. So you get a chance to share your voice with who we sponsor, with what kind of gifts we give, and which is normal for a giving circle. And so svpsa.org is our website. We also have socials and we have a good time, and San Antonio is a wonderful place to have margaritas and tacos outside somewhere, or hamburgers and hot dogs, whatever you like. So we do some social things. We learn about our community. We give together and change our community together. And it's a fun place to be. It's a wonderful city. We are a city that's known for caring for each other. It's very much a relationship town, which makes us all more successful, including Social Venture Partners.
Well, I'm actually trying to book a trip to San Antonio right now.
Good.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to pack my bags. Thank you so much for joining us today and for talking to us. It was honestly a great talk.
Well, let me know. And people can reach out to us at svpsa.org. Love to have donations, love to have people give us ideas, and love to know about any nonprofits that are out there that are interested in communicating, networking with us.
Oh, that's great. And for everyone else listening, also, thank you so much for staying here with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that shows the algorithms that this is an important conversation and more people can learn about the importance of the social venture partners in San Antonio.